Welcome everyone. My name's Ryan Titmus and I'm with Lucid Scientific and I'm honored to be your moderator today. The goal of our discussion today is to really understand about your journey in your career, in your education, and ultimately to educate the world on the importance of the lab products business. And it'd be great to start with introductions on your career. So let's start with Amy.
Okay, great. I'm Amy Jo Yogmas. I'm the president of Bogle Scientific. I've been with the company for over 20 years and in the industry for over 30. And worked in various different roles throughout my organization to really learn how the life science products are launched and how we manage inventory and work with our customers.
That's great. That's really, thanks for that introduction. Sure. And we'll expand on that a little bit more as we move along. But how about Danny? How about we start with, continue with you next? Give us a little bit of.
So I'm Danny Hensler. I'm with Solo Environmental Equipment Company. We manufacture ultra-low temperature freezers and other cold storage products, so a wide range of very cold to refrigeration. I'm the director of operations for our lab freezer and refrigerator vertical, and I've been with the company for 4 years, coming up on 4 years, and it's a family-run company and owned company. So before that, I had a technology background, working as a software developer, and so this was kind of a industry change, but it's been great. My career path, this is going to be a fun topic to expand on and explore.
Great. No, that's great. It's going to be really nice to reflect on people and individuals who changed not only positions within companies, but also complete job changes. So that's great. And Alex, how about?
Alex Milinich, president of a company called Aldon Corporation. I've been with the company for 17 years, currently enrolled as president. But I've been in this lab products atmosphere for 33 years, so starting right outside of college in a biological manufacturing opportunity, and kind of just gone from there as I've had different roles and different responsibilities.
Great. No, that's glad to have a panel like this with such experience and a little diversity as far as coming long time in the industry, but also coming out myself. I've been in the lab products business for about 23 years now. I started as an engineer, so I have an engineering background, then I worked my way through product management, and then eventually into sales management. And now what's exciting for me is I'm part of a startup company. So it's a change from working in larger corporations to working into a very small organization. So very different, but also quite rewarding. So with the subject of rewarding, I think it's an important part to talk about what you see as the most fulfilling part of your job now. So it could be whether your current job or how you move through the organization and what you find to be the most fulfilling. And I think, Danny, maybe we'll start with you, being the newest of the group within the industry, and maybe kind of talk a little bit about what you find to be fulfilling of your job right now.
Yeah, so it is one of the things that I've found with being at a bigger company and working at a smaller company, now being at that smaller company, is it's the high touch and the impact I'm able to make is a lot more, I see a lot more fulfillment out of that, and it's just a lot more rewarding to see those experiences from when they might initially occur to your, like, maybe just like a solution that comes out of it, and that high touch and that high impact is just much more rewarding when you're in a smaller environment.
And when you mean a smaller environment, do you mean like a family-owned company? Or do you mean the group you're in within the company?
Yeah, both. I mean, the family aspect is really, I mean, it's natural that it's going to be, the impact is there. And then, but also our company, we're about 45 people. And so, internally, like we have I have that team impact that, like the larger companies, you have all of your different teams. And I've kind of helped cultivate our small 4-person team that I work with on the day-to-day basis, that that culture, like just seeing it develop is what's very rewarding.
Fantastic. It's great to hear that. Alex, can you expand a little bit about on your personal journey and what you find to be most fulfilling about your current job?
Yeah, personal journey, it's been a long road of starting in a biological operation and going to a chemical bench to product development, purchasing, operations, environmental health, safety, security. So it's been a really cool journey. A lot of things that you don't actually learn in school, but you learn through just experience. Today, even though I'm president of a company, I really enjoy not only talking to the customer, but the customer's customer, so end user applications, solving problems. We manufacture and wholesale chemicals and life science products, so still get involved in technical applications. Something's not working right. How do I get it to help an experiment? That's really kind of cool because you have the life science background, chemistry background. Running a business is one thing, but really helping that STEM side of the end user solve a problem.
Now, how about when it comes to your employees? So, also speaking to the group of we're trying to educate the market on how it is to work within our industries, right? And they're quite diverse, right? Being chemicals or devices or software, et cetera. So from a president to the employee standpoint, what do you find the most rewarding about that in your job?
I'm still on the floor all the time from a manufacturing perspective, walk around, integrated in an aspect of, because of had the experience of being on the bench before, both in R&D process or operations, that I can kind of jump in and help solve problems with whether it's mechanical machineries, operations, engineering. But it's you have to. It's like we're not a super large corporation, but we wear a lot of multiple hats, and so that is really fun. And then we run our manufacturing group at the same time. We've got some professional labs and R&D and creating STEM kits, and then we run an internship program.
Okay.
And the internship program developed in 2014. Our specific market gets really busy between May and October. Part of that is there's back to school universities that come back, so people buy a lot during the summer. To offset that, we created a program where we have students, we teach them manufacturing, which is a lot different than lab work because we're actually putting the chemicals in a bottle that they would use in the lab. And so whether it's blending and operations, filling, labeling, so teaching that manufacturing thing that they're not going to see in a university setting because the bottle just shows up.
Right.
And it's really fun to see those students come back year after year, giving an opportunity for something on their resume that I never had an opportunity to do years ago because there just weren't those opportunities out there. So we had the summer jobs to get through life and pay for college,
Right.
but now we're giving this really cool opportunity, and they can use that to wherever they go, right? And hopefully they'll fly the flag of Eldon and remember, that experience over time.
And I think meaningful internships is a real powerful statement you said, where it's not just summer work where somebody's filling bottles and not learning and not being able to apply that in their education to make a decision on, when I get out of college, here's what I'd like to do, because I think that's still a really critical point, and most seniors in college think they know where they're going to go, but they really don't understand what they're jumping into. So that's a really amazing program that Aldon offers. So that's great. So to continue that discussion, Amy Jo, maybe expand a little bit about, you had a very rich career path, and so maybe kind of enlighten us a little bit about how you moved through the organization, and also, of course, a little bit about what you find the most fulfilling about your current job.
Yeah, so I started with Bocal Scientific. Well, I actually started with a competitor before that. So I worked in purchasing and learned a lot about operations, and then came to Bocal and really championed the procurement and the operations, quality, regulatory, moved into sales and saw that and got to really touch the customers and the end users. And
how did you make that jump from operations to sales?
Well, we are a small company, so when our director of sales left, they said, hey, I had gone to a lot of shows with them, because one of the things I think we all understand too is sales says yes, but operations, and you bring it back to operations, and then they say, are you kidding?
Or accounting says no.
Or accounting says no. So I did a lot of shows and a lot of conferences with him. So I was on the outskirts of sales. So when that person left, they said, hey, why don't you try it? And I tried it and I loved it. And I started doing that part-time and operations part-time, and then moved fully into the role. And then our president left and they moved me into that role. So for me, the most, not the most, but one of the most fulfilling things for me is knowing that the products that we manufacture save lives. We make medical devices, so we save lives, but then having the ability to strategically plan what products are going to come out next, and looking at the holes in our portfolio and understanding what the industry needs, and then empowering our employees is really important to me. So I want to make sure that my door is always open, I'm always on the floor, and just seeing the people even on the floor understanding, like, hey, what I do, even if I just put it in a box, is saving lives and is important. So really ensuring our employees are empowered to make suggestions and make change and understand the value of what we do.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is, if we're saving lives or we're in the lab products business, and what a lot of people don't understand is that a sprocket from one company really helps in a long chain 100%. Of making therapeutics and helping scientists accelerate research. And I think that's underlining all the successes and fulfillment we have. We also see that, hey, we're also helping mankind in some aspect, which I think is very important when you're choosing a career path. So for myself, I was a technical, I started with a real technical job where I worked for a company where I was thrown on the phone and told to support the customers. It was less email then, it was more phone support, and the tree, remember the phone tree used to light up, and it used to start blinking and then ringing back to other people, and that's how I cut my teeth in the industry. And the reason I liked it, even though it was hectic, was that I was really supporting scientists and customers and helping them from very simplistic problems to eventually very complex ones. And I found that liking the customer and supporting the customer can be a really nice avenue into sales. Yeah. Because now the customers trust you, and ultimately at the end of the day, it's a relationship game, right? And coming down to people trusting you. And so I think people who enjoy that aspect would really enjoy the world we live in. And speaking of new talent in the industry and the newcomers to our industry, I'd like to talk a little bit about what you see as important roles and important, let's say, attributes that new graduates looking to interview for jobs and really start working within our industry. Maybe a little bit of a thought on what you're looking for, or what you see as a trend in the industry as far as what's needed. And Alex, I'd like to start with you, if that's okay.
Really well-rounded individuals. So I think sometimes students get stuck in this narrow-minded aspect that they have to study, or I'm only going to certain aspects around biochemistry, right? But they don't realize that when they get into that market space, or our market, there's so many other applications that cross over. And not understand that, you can be a biologist and a chemist all at once, because there's a lot of interactions between the two. So I'm looking really for that person that's got really a breadth of knowledge from a laboratory perspective or experience, versus very narrow-minded, but only done research on certain say peptides, right? So,
How about when you're searching for a new salesperson or a inside salesperson, right? Because that's also a topic of discussion from a lot of candidates is, how often do we travel now? Has that changed, and is it all virtual, and is it, so when you're looking to recruit a new sales-oriented employee for Aldon, what are your expectations?
So expectations, usually that has experience that have come out of a lab.
Okay.
So understanding applications and how it's being used. Hard to hire, say, a 22, 23-year-old to just say, let's go be a salesperson, right? There has to be some experience around it, experience in a lab. They are actually the best sales because they can understand how it's going to be applied.
Great. So it's very interesting because, a lot of salespeople in our industry, professionals, come from the lab, right? They worked in the lab, and I think there's two paths. There's individuals who want to continue that track of being a bench scientist and working through the system, whether it's academic or in an industrial customer, for example. And then there's those who leave that after some time and come into sales. And Amy Jo, do you have any experience with that, and why they would do that, or what you feel your idea would be on why someone would leave the bench after several years and want to work for the people who are selling their products in their lab, right?
Well, I think you kind of hit on that already with, looking at taking their, stuck at a bench in a lab and someone that wants to kind of grow and that use their application knowledge, but use it in a different way. And I think that's a lot of why people move from the lab into sales. They want that interaction, they want that socialization, and they get to use their expertise and their knowledge that they gained in college from the labs.
Great, and Danny, so you work for a small size but family-owned company, right? So from your perspective in a family-owned business, what kind of individuals are you looking for to enter into your organization, and maybe a little bit about the skill set, and maybe a little bit about what would make a successful employee at a family-owned business?
Yeah, and I think both Amy Jo and Alex have touched on like well-roundedness, curiosity. I think is one just very simple attribute that when I first got started, it was, I kind of was in a narrow-minded space of it's just a freezer. But really the curious part is what, is finding out what people are putting in the freezers, because that's there's so much, the brevity and the depth of applications that they're used for took me by surprise. And so when I think about how, when I was younger, how would I have kind of known that? You're not necessarily going to know that out of school or out of an internship program, but you learn those by seeing them occur, in your interactions with your customers and asking questions and just being curious. And so openness to learn and just realize it's okay to know that you're not going to know everything, especially early on, and you will. It comes with just the experience and being open to being curious and asking questions is what we look for, because and with being smaller, you just have to do all those different roles. I didn't necessarily go in to be a sales, a member of the sales team, but I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do is to talk to the customers, hear about how they use things, and then I have to do operations as well and manage product, and I love product. So it's just being able to be curious is what has helped me in my career development.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent point on the excitement of sales, right? So I think for anybody who's entering into any industry, specifically ours, is that you have to be energized and self-motivated to enjoy sales, meaning you enjoy the process and you enjoy getting that purchase order. And I used to gauge a lot of younger sales reps when a purchase order would come in and I'd send it, and if I got the hooray chat and all that stuff, I knew that those people were really engaged. If you got the silent, then it's kind of like, all right, we have to work on something here, because you should be excited when you're getting those big wins. And yeah, and from my perspective, as being for a startup company, it's similar to a family-owned business, right, where you have a very small team and you're going to be doing a lot of different activities. And I think it's very important for candidates, especially out of school, who are looking for a new role, is to really make sure they interview the company they're going to work for harder than the company trying to hire you, and really to look at, to see what the job is, not on just paper, but what my day-to-day is. How can I contribute? How can I push the organization? I think that's really important, especially with current generation coming out of school, is to really be open to what their freedoms are. That could be personally or professionally, but also what their day looks like. And in a sales job, I'd like to also touch on a little bit about how you see the mechanics of sales going now. So is it maybe a little bit about the differences from 10 years ago in sales? I know you weren't in sales 10 years ago, so maybe we'll focus on Alex and Amy Jo a little bit, but maybe your experience on a little bit how sales differed in our industry, maybe let's say 10 years ago, 15 years ago to right now, because a lot of the advice that maybe new graduates are getting are from people who are experienced sales individuals, and they've learned the old way and kind of had to adapt. So maybe a little bit about what you see as the key differences now in that sales profession. So Amy Jo, maybe you could start with that.
I think one of the key differences when I look at sales 10 years ago till today is, you could just walk into a hospital or a university and go to the lab and sell, walk the halls, right? And today that's much different. And the people from that we've done this, 10 years ago are learning how to do things virtually. And, maybe those things didn't come as easy to us 10 years ago. And if someone would have said, I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with, a lab director, I'd be like, are you serious? So I think that is one of the biggest changes in sales, really, is we learned through COVID that obviously you don't have to be in front of that person. But one thing that is key, I think, in our industry is the relationships. So really understanding how to build those relationships, not necessarily face-to-face, or in person, but more utilizing technology. And I think that's what the younger generation that's coming out has to offer for us that have been around for a long time.
No, that's absolutely true, and I think technological savvy on not just having meetings with individuals or Zoom meetings or whatnot, but also a lot of the technologies in our industry are becoming very software oriented, or very technologically advanced compared to even many years ago. So the need for new engineers and the need for new scientists out of school, especially software, for example, is very critical to our industry. 100%. So, and Alex, maybe a little bit about how you've seen sales change over the last 10 years and what somebody coming brand new into a sales world would expect.
People want answers now or yesterday, right? So whether it's offline web chatting, the day never seems to stop, because lab managers and/or end users, it might be 10 o'clock at night when they're hitting on a web chat or trying to find a solution to a problem. Some labs run 24/7 in different applications. There was faxes going on our beginning of our careers.
Any company that still asks for your fax number is, I don't know why you're asking me that.
We are currently debating whether we had to take the fax machine out, and we are currently debating if we're going to put it back in.
Put it in a glass cabinet.
We have an active fax machine.
But even responses, 10 years ago on an email, it's almost like they're looking for a response within an hour, right? They want that immediate response. They want immediate feedback. How do we get this thing going? I don't know if you want to use the Amazon mentality or Prime mentality of just, I really need it now. And forecasting is sometimes difficult for people, and so it's just really fast, instantaneous results is what they're looking for, whether it's a solution, product, or
Yeah, but I also see it as opportunity, right? Because a lot of people, maybe if they're coming into our world, are not generally sales focused, but they're more operationals focused, they're more finance focused. There's a lot of improvement that can happen in supply chain management, in operations, meaning do you have rich content on your website that you can educate clients before they call you? There's videos, there's facts, there's chats, chat GPTs and AIs and things that are helping answer questions. So I think our world also has to catch up, and we need new talent to help do that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
you know, we're making great progress on the technology that we're offering our end users, but I think also there's a large gap or void that's needed in new talent to help. Let's optimize our organization.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's something that, you know, when I interview someone, it's one of the questions I always ask is, you know, it's always about the employer. What can you do for me? This is what I'm looking for. And I like towards the end to say, okay, well, what are you looking for? What do you need from a company? What can we do to, you know, have you want to join our organization? But I think it's important to ask them, like, what are you looking for in a company?
I had a boss that used to tell me from a networking perspective, it's not what you know, but it's who you know that knows.
Right.
And so the network is, you may not be able to solve the problem instantaneously, but if you know who can do that for you, and it may be a competitor or customer or whatever, but find the solution, right? And so that's how I think
that's a great thing about trade organizations, right?
Right.
It's a great forum for that. And I think what we talked about here is that there's a really a wide variety of not just roles that you can go into, but also company styles and company types. So you have everything from startup companies who are looking for new talent, which has maybe a higher risk but a greater reward and a different set of multitasking, to someone who wants to start more in a larger company as a bench scientist who wants to work in that way. So there's personalities and educational types for all of those areas, and I think an organization like the LPA helps to bring that to its members as far as what's available.
I agree.
To conclude our discussion, I would like maybe just a brief point from each of you on what you see as the future of our industry, and to give some highlights of what you feel is going to be exciting for our industry in the next few years, to really give transparency to new interested graduates, let's say, that we do have a rich history, but also a very dynamic future as far as the life science, lab products industry. So maybe, Danny, we'll start with you. What do you see as the bright spot in the future for our industry?
Yeah, I think having joined the industry recently and knowing that the impact that all of the companies, especially in the LPA, not only just Solo Environmental, but everyone else, the impact we have on life science, on research, on industrial use cases that we support, but knowing that our products and our industry is helping millions and billions of people around the world, and having, even though it seems small, we have such a global reach in the LPA and all of the member companies, and seeing our industry be successful globally is very rewarding. And I think seeing the impact that we have globally is one of the rewarding things that you realize the scale at which we participate in.
No, that's good. I mean, the applications part, meaning that it's not just, you know, you're selling, for example, in your case, a freezer where somebody thinks that's very simplistic and it's just a freezer sitting in a lab, but there's actually a complex science around it, and it's a very critical part, especially during COVID.
Right.
The COVID transport chain would have failed miserably without cold storage, without very specific temperatures, ranges, et cetera. And I think you're right, that came to the public space. Even my own family or my own friends saying, oh wow, now I kind of understand what your industry does, because it's usually just, what are you selling? You're selling some lab products, and what's that mean?
Yep.
But it does mean a lot, and I think we touched on that today, that we're helping to accelerate science, and we're there's ultimately a greater good there. And it's not just a simple freezer, for example, or a simple chemical. It's a small cog in a larger picture of helping mankind, which it is, and that's important. So, Amy Jo, how about you? What do you see as the bright future for our industry?
Well, what I see is, I think, an embracing technology, and I think the LPA as a whole is also reinvigorated, I think, to take on fresh ideas, change things up, disrupt things, and I think our industry going forward is just really gonna embrace that technology and not hold back. Like, it's a very exciting time in our industry, and I think it's only gonna get better with all of the different ideas that are out there, all the new technologies and things like that.
Yeah, like you said, it's not just chemical engineers or
No.
mechanical engineers or this anymore. It's software-oriented
Yes.
engineers and web-based engineers and a myriad of different skill sets that are needed within our industry. So.
And I think it's embracing that, we are in a time of, like you said, Alex, instant gratification. You press the button, you want it delivered tomorrow. You leave your voicemail, you want. So the fact that we're all on board with that and really ready to take that to the next level is what I see in the future.
Yeah, last but not least, Alex, how do you see our industry, what do you see as the positive parts of our industry moving forward and opportunities, let's say, for people?
Opportunities are absolutely in automation. And so whether it's mechanical automation with people wanting products faster, lead times shrinking, expectations, everybody wants it faster, but also they want it cheaper, right? And
That's
so
a good point, yeah.
from an American-made company, we're always trying to compete globally. And so we've had to invest in infrastructure to be quicker and to be cheaper. And I think that it changes the mindset because, you may go to school and learn chemistry or life science, but now there's a twist of automation and there's a twist of, that mechanical aspect that you may not have learned in school, and you learn really quickly on the job, or how to apply that cognitive learning in real world application.
Yeah, and you mentioned global. It's a big thing that we're not just isolated to the U.S. or our individual areas. We're mostly working for companies that supply goods globally. So
100%.
Individuals who want to learn different, they want to go to different countries and learn different backgrounds and see how operations works in France or Germany versus the United States. I think it also lends itself to individuals who want to have a more holistic view of global supply chain, global sales. So it's one of the great things I think about our industry. Well, I thank each of you for joining for this discussion. I think it was quite fruitful and great. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks.